We all know dating can be tough, but what's it like for people with disabilities?
And how do people with different abilities connect?
This is Enable, the Disability Podcast, where we share stories, experiences, support, resources, and more for people with disabilities and different abilities. We are at Enable Podcast on social media. My name is Deaf Jeff Herbert.
And my name is Kurt Hauer. We're talking with Liz McCormick and Lauren Ennis, organized of EmpowHer Capital, Dating While Disabled event in upstate New York. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Elizabeth, please start off by telling us about EmpowHer Capital and what your group does.
Thank you. EmpowHer Capital is a new program for disabled women in the capital region of New York. I'm located in Albany, New York, but it's for people in Albany and their surrounding areas. It is an opportunity for disabled women to be able to connect, set and pursue goals, and reach their full potential. Um, our goal is really to support disabled women in achieving their personal and professional goals. And we host monthly events that are collectively organized. It's a peer run group, so it's run by disabled women for disabled women. And the themes of our monthly events are something that are the members of our group individually want to work on, or if they have an interest in a particular topic or working on a particular skill, we will host an event around that. And at Lauren's first event, Lauren mentioned that she would like to do a dating with a disability event, and I thought amazing. Um, Dating with a disability is a topic that I personally didn't want to take on all by myself. So I found it amazing that someone else in the group had an interest in it and wanted to really take leadership on doing this event. And Empower Capital is a part of Disability Empower Network, which is a national organization that supports disabled women and girls through mentorship and skill building. So, in our group, we are focused on disabled women, generally ages 18 plus, but there's someone that's 16 or 17 that wants to join us. We're not going to say no. And it's really creating a supportive community for disabled women in our area.
That's great. So this is not what I had envisioned in my mind was like tables where it's speed dating. But what actually occurs at this event? What happens there?
So we're really excited to collaborate on this event, and we're basically going to talk about it and at least at this first event about what our different experiences are. We have a bunch of women that are all over different generations. So I think a lot of my interest was very I don't want to say selfish, but it was a little selfish because I recently entered the dating pool again, and as a disabled person, it does definitely come up. And I know in the past, in my relationships, my disability has been a source of contention a little bit, especially when dating like able-bodied people themselves. And I thought, what would be a better way to just get to know each other a little more, and have these discussions, especially since there's not a lot of representation about this topic in the media right now, and if there is, it's usually centered around men and their journeys, and we think that it's distinctively very different for women. So right now, it's just going to be a place where women who have this experience could come, and we could talk about, things that we like, things that we don't like, and give each other tips about certain things that we look out for in the dating journey.
Supporting each other in our different dating journeys. There's some members of our group that are married in long-term relationships, older, younger, just whatever your life experience looks like. You're welcome to come and uh, build this community with us. where you feel like you have a safe space to talk about things that you might not be able to talk about with other women who are not disabled or disabled men who have a different experience.
But a support group is definitely something that's very important for any issue, whether it's dating or anything else that's going on in people's lives. Um, and I wish that there was something like that that I had when I was dating. I mean, I'm married now, but I was born with a profound hearing loss, so meeting people in social situations sometimes was difficult because in a group setting, I couldn't pay attention to everyone having a conversation. I can read people's lips very well, so I could have like a one-on-one conversation with people. But in a group setting, social situations have been and still are very difficult for me. So I'm curious, for the two of you, maybe Liz, you want to start. Are there any unique challenges that you have experienced or other people that you know have experienced when they have disabilities and they try to meet people?
Yes, this is something that we talked about when we were thinking about this event, and why we wanted to do something like this is because we mentioned that as disabled women, we felt it was kind of a distinct and different experience from disabled men. Certainly, there's challenges for both groups, but being a woman and dealing with societal expectations, or women are the caretakers and take care of things in the home. And we were discussing how women who are disabled might not be able to fulfill some of that caretaking role that women are traditionally expected to fill, and also may need caretakers themselves, and that's not always an expectation that is put upon men. So especially for women who are looking to date other men, it is a different dynamic that you have to navigate as a woman who is disabled. And just in general, for all disabled people, I think there is um not a stereotype, but not really recognizing disabled people as romantic prospects and people who can be desired. And when you are in the dating world, you're constantly trying to fight that, and it can be a really demoralizing experience sometimes, to have to put yourself out there. And everybody who is on dating apps has to deal with, oh, do I look attractive enough? And am I putting all my best qualities out there? But it's just 10 times harder for disabled people, and especially disabled women. So that's why we wanted to do this event, because it's something unique, and it's something that's I don't think it's not necessarily talked about in a lot of disabled spaces, and it's being talked about more. But when I was a teenager, definitely, and I was wondering, like, what is my dating life going to look like? There wasn't as much conversation, and not only are we opening a space for disabled women to talk to each other, also, maybe we could support your dating goals in some way. If that's a goal you have in your personal life to get more out in the dating world, um, we can help with that too. And if it's not, if maybe you don't want to at all, that's fine too. But maybe we could just talk about all the silly things we've seen on dating apps. So it's a leadership and skill building group, but also just a fun way to get to talk to other disabled women.
Oh, that's great. I really like that. Well, I have something called ankylosing spondylitis. So for most of my adult life, I didn't share that I had a disability. It's only become more recently that people can tell, hey, there's something not right. I remember going to an event this weekend, and the guy said, held the door, he said, "You walk kind of like a turtle." And that's true because it affects my spine and some other things. But I tend to be straightforward. That's how I like to talk to people. And, when it comes to dating, I'm not so sure that that's the right approach. Um, when do you think it's a good time to talk to people about your disability? And is that a first date conversation, or should you wait until things get a little further down the line and more serious?
I also am very straightforward, even though I am someone who relatively, at least like earlier in my life, could hide my disability. I have a really rare autoimmune disease and it impacts my eyesight greatly. I do have a deformity in my left eye, but a lot of times it's not like super out there. So sometimes a lot of people won't notice unless I point it out. And but recently, my eyesight has declined a little bit, so it's getting to the point where, I need to be more vocal about my needs and safety measures. And for me, yeah, I take the approach of being direct about it because I I see it as a filter that, yeah, it might weed out some people, but I don't want to, waste my time with people who would, not want to date someone who's disabled. Um and I also think it's extremely personal to the individual, especially like what their disability entails. A lot of disabled people don't have the ability to conceal it. So they'll have to be more upfront right away because they'll be noticeable. Whereas there's people who you would not know unless they told you, and they will not tell you until they feel comfortable. So I definitely take more of a direct approach, but I don't blame anyone who wants to wait a little bit, especially, given if it's a new diagnosis. I know with me, I my condition is lifelong. So I'm very used to it and I'm very, knowledgeable, and I don't have this sense of like emotion when I talk about it. But if this is like a new development for someone and they want to wait a while, I totally see that as valid.
Yeah, I would say I also take a direct approach. I have cerebral palsy, which is a lifelong disability, and I'm a wheelchair user. So that's not something that you can remove from the experience of being around me, whether, we're friends, we're acquaintances, coworkers, anybody who knows me will have to know that I have a disability. And if if I personally, in my dating experience, if I'm looking for someone that I want to be in a long-term relationship with, um my approach to be direct is because that's never not going to be a part of our relationship, and it is a part of myself and my identity. And I noticed that the times where I removed my disability from my dating profiles were times where I was feeling shame about being, unmatched with or not getting matches. And I think being direct and open about my disability um removes that shame. It makes me feel proud in my disabled identity, and sometimes it can remove some of that nervousness. A lot of the first questions people have is like, "What is your disability? How does it impact you?" Sometimes people are really not smart about it and they just ask crude questions that you shouldn't be asking when you first meet somebody. But I do advocacy work, so I'm naturally open with my disability anyways. But to be able to open that conversation and, make some jokes about it and show them that this is a part of my personal life, but also my professional life as well, and show that, I have a job, I have a career, I do fun things with other people with disabilities. It shows myself as a whole person. And that's not something that I want to remove from my dating experience. But also, this is something we talk about in jobs too. When do you disclose? And that's something that a decision you'll have to make personally.
That's all good advice, and I really like that you're both so forthcoming with it, and we really appreciate you sharing your insights and your experiences. Um, Not all we talk about a lot of disabilities on the Enable Disability podcast, and I'm someone that has maybe a less visible disability. I'm hard of hearing. I do wear hearing aids in both ears, um, but people don't always necessarily notice it right away. My wife even said that she didn't realize I was hard of hearing when she first met me. Um, and so it kind of brings me to a question I wanted to ask. When a person with a disability meets a person that does not have a disability or doesn't have the same disability, do you have any advice for how those people should talk about it and be respectful and supportive in a relationship.
I definitely feel like leading with curiosity, but also leading with letting the person in, and this is obviously assuming if one person's disabled, one person is not. Because I think when you're dealing with two people with disabilities, the conversation flows a little more naturally, but not assuming things, even if, like, I know, for example, I'm visually impaired and people automatically assume I can't see anything, and that's not true. It's very situational. Um, and even if a disability who that might be more straightforward, might be more common that you've heard of before, I even would say, let that person tell you what their needs are if they have them, and let them steer that direction, because you'll be surprised what people's lives look like. And not even just in a sense of what they can do, but then you might not anticipate what certain things might actually be a challenge. So just being open and willing to communicate and willing to let the person, um, you know, go at their own pace, essentially, I would say, is the biggest, thing. And don't underestimate people too. Because I feel like a lot of people who might have a question about who are able-bodied, that might be questioning about dating a disabled person, they think that their lives will look one way when it truthfully won't look that much different. There might be some accommodations needed, but we can do basically anything. We just might do it a little differently, you know?
I agree with that as well. And back to your question about when do you disclose that you have a disability? You're always going to know that I'm a power wheelchair user up front, but there might be other aspects that I choose to share later on. Depends on the situation. Is that relevant? We're not going to be going on a beach vacation on our first date, so why does someone need to know about my personal experiences in certain environments like that? So and I feel like a lot of people might be scared or unfamiliar with dating a person with a disability, and obviously that's something, if someone has problems with dating a person with a disability, that's something they have to work on their own. I'm in my dating experience, um I'm willing to have an open conversation like Lauren said, but I'm not going to do all the work. You have to lead with an open mind and be afraid to make mistakes, and um not leave some things at the door, I guess I would say. And that's part of the reason why I'm very upfront with my disability as well. um so I don't get people saying, "Oh, that's interesting," and they find out I have a disability and they're like, "I don't want to deal with that." So it's sort of a way to pick the people who are going to be capable of keeping that open line of communication and be willing to learn alongside each other, because someone could become disabled tomorrow. So I think it's really great to have that mindset of, what your person each relationship is going to look completely different.
Well, believe it or not, my wife and I have been married for over 35 years. The dating climate was a whole lot different when we were dating. And, you used to go to a club, or you'd go out with friends on a blind date kind of thing. And there were even way back when, there were even classified ads in the paper where you could meet someone. But today it looks a lot different. And, I'm just wondering if you have any recommendations, if a young person were out there dating, where they would go to meet people. And, are there apps that are available for them? What does that look like?
Well, that's on, and what's funny, as someone who's like entering the dating scene again, that's a question I've asked myself too. A lot of things I've been, obviously dating apps have taken over, and there's like a lot of discourse around it because there's people who really don't like it. I find it as a good tool for some people because it can be an accessibility tool. If you're not able to go to certain events, or even if like you're not disabled but you work full time and you're not available the times where people would be out, it could be a good option. But I also think the advice I've been taking that's been helpful is to lead with your own interest and join events in the community that you feel interested in outside of the dating sector. Like, for example, I'm a musician. I played violin my entire life. So I like meeting other musicians as well. And you're doing sort of two things at once. So you're developing a hobby, you're contributing, and you're growing that personal area of your life, but then, you never know who you're going to meet too. Um, so I would say definitely use a bunch of different things. Like, we have a bunch of apps. I don't think there's any specific apps for disabled people right at this moment. But and then also if you're able to go to certain events, I think that's really cool. Like speed dating that we mentioned before, I would definitely, it's something I would love to do in the future, is having an event that's very disabled friendly and focused, where anyone could come in, but it's made so it's accessible for people with disabilities to attend these events. Because I know I'm also hard of hearing. I don't wear hearing aids, but one I have been to a date event before, and oh my god, I could not hear anybody. And I wasn't the only one complaining about that. Everyone was like, "We can't hear each other." So I think, I've always was like, "Well, what would something that is a little more accessible would look like?" Maybe that's a conversation we could have another day. But yeah, just keep your options open, and definitely, look at the other areas in your life that you're super interested in, whether you're interested in the sport, a different art form. You never know who you're going to meet. And a lot of times that person will have similar interest to you if you meet them out like that.
I do want to throw out there that I have heard of an app called Ability, which is supposedly a app that's focused on people with disabilities. I think to meet other people with disabilities and chronic illnesses. Um, I'm married, so I have not used it, so I can't vouch for it. But it is something that would be out there to consider if you are interested in meeting other people that might also have a disability. Um, or if you are have experience in something with a disability, for example, if you uh, I'm just imagining like maybe someone who knows sign language but might not be hard of hearing, you could potentially meet people who are deaf and hard of hearing. Again, I can't vouch for it. I just heard about it. Um, but it's amazing how many different groups that there are out there or apps that are supported. And your group sounds fantastic and supportive for other people that are in your community. Since it is Valentine's month, I do want to ask one more question. And just as a general question, do you have like an ideal place that you like to go for a date or another special occasion?
Yeah, when I'm thinking about my ideal date spot for Valentine's Day, or just dates in general, um, for me, it's less about the location or the what we're doing, but if someone else could figure out all the accessibility details and just tell me to show up, that would be great. I feel like a lot of the times that I'm especially with non-disabled people, but I'm trying to figure out if we're gonna be able to do something. We gotta figure out, am I gonna be able to get in the door as a wheelchair user? Or like I try to find places with low volume levels or things like that. I think it is really an act of love to make sure that everything is accessible for someone. And obviously, I'm willing to do that work. And I know how to scope out to see if a place is accessible or not, which someone else may not have as much skill in. Um, but to be able to show that I care and I want to take this burden off of you that you usually have to do yourself, I think that's romantic.
Yeah, same here.
That's great.
Um, for sure.
Thank you for taking the time to share with us about your experiences. Do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
Definitely surround yourself with community, look for others like you, and don't, let yourself want the best things in life, I would say is the number one thing I would go for.
I totally agree with that. And finding your community, which is something we're trying to do with Empower, having other people lift you up. No one's dating experience is easy. You hear people complain about apps all the time. Um, but if you're having a really bad time in the apps, maybe just go laugh about it with your friends. They'll tell you all the great things about you and everything that you have to offer to everyone else, and you have a disability. So I would definitely agree with having supportive friends and prioritizing yourself in the dating experience.
Excellent advice. Thank you again for joining us. This is Enable the Disability Podcast. We're not solely defined by the things we can't do when there's so many things we can do. We are at Enable Podcast on social media. Please like, follow, and subscribe.
And please share this podcast with your friends and family so we can share more stories about people with different abilities that bring us all together. Thank you.